Public schools in Fairfax County, Virginia are preparing to include gender identity in its curriculum for grades 7 through 12. The family life education lessons will include teachings on heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, and transgender identity. Andrea Lafferty of Traditional Values Coalition joins us from our Washington bureau to talk more about this controversial subject. Andrea, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
First of all, tell us about this curriculum and the motivation behind it.
Well, it's interesting. The school board voted earlier in May to add gender identity. It's not a part of the state law. It's not a part of the state school board instruction, but they've decided to add it against the will of many of the parents. And so now what we're dealing with is a vote on the family life education. Now, while we're talking specifically about Fairfax, I think it's important for people to understand this is happening across the country. So I may talk about Virginia, but listen carefully for your own community.
Wow. Well, how will this curriculum impact the students?
Well, it's very interesting. Right now, what will happen is, starting in kindergarten, they'll talk to them about same-sex or gay marriage. And the parents will not be able to opt out. One of the big issues is in Virginia, parents can opt their children out of certain parts of the, quote, family life education. And so now what they're doing is they're trying to move parts of it from FLE, family life education, to health, which means the parents cannot opt their children out. And so we've been poring over the regulations and the information to see exactly what's happening. But we are very, very concerned that they are doing it here in Fairfax County and perhaps other places without the parents' knowledge or consent. In 8th grade, they will be discussing, let me just say, Bill Clinton's activity along with oral and anal.
Now, I have to go back to work on my State of the Union speech. And I worked on it till pretty late last night. But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people.
In 8th grade, and most people, and they've lowered it from 9th grade, or teaching 4th graders about the word incest. How far does that go?
What is the difference between sexual orientation and gender identity?
Well, the difference between sexual orientation and gender identity is sexual orientation is who you have sex with and how you have sex. Gender identity is who you are, male, female. Are you born male or female? Are you born nothing? And they want to break down those definitions so you're no longer male or female as God created us. You're one of 52, quote, genders, or one of 100 and something genders, depending on who you talk to. It is not clear, and it is not a part of our normal cultural discussion. I don't even think it's a part of discussion in France or other European countries. It's just bizarre. And they want to force this on the kids in Fairfax County when, in fact, it's not a part of the SOLs or the required education.
What's been the reaction from parents, and what can parents do?
Well, in Fairfax County, it was interesting because the night of the vote on gender identity, the police, they hired a special police force, security. They actually locked 200 parents out so they couldn't get in, even though there was standing room in the back. Parents need to be very engaged. Parents need to know what is going on in their local communities. Read anything that's passed. Find out what they're teaching your kids under the guise of health, under the guise of PE or social studies or biology or family life. We're seeing just an onslaught. This thing is snowballing. And so we would just encourage you to protect your children and know what they're being taught.
Has the Obama administration played any role in encouraging public schools to adopt this sort of curriculum?
Well, that is another very good question. Actually, encourage isn't maybe the word. Blackmail or force. Here in Fairfax County, we were told that the Office of Civil Rights, Department of Education and Department of Justice would see to it that our federal tax dollars were pulled if gender identity wasn't added. What that means is those monies that are meant to help educate and provide for poor children, children that may be going without meals, that funding would be taken. So here we hear all this outcry about Republicans are, not looking out for kids, when in fact, when the president and his allies want to push this gender identity agenda, they don't care about poor children.
Andrea Lafferty, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, grave sites and cemeteries are not immune to the effects of flooding either. Parish officials throughout our viewing area are getting reports of disinterred graves. Elizabeth Vowell spoke with one family and found out what loved ones need to do.
I have two sisters, nieces, cousins, my grandmother, both sets, and this is destructive.
Absolutely.
It's heartbreaking,
What do you do when you lose everything to floodwaters?
I wasn't ready for this at all.
And then find your loved one's final resting spot has been lost too.
Thinking that this is him.
So you're not even really sure?
Because I'm not even really sure, how they gonna know what bodies go where. You understand? Because they have caskets all the way back in the back there.
Maria Bragg lost her son in 2014. He was laid to rest here at Plainview Cemetery in Denham Springs, where generations of her family have been buried. When the floodwaters here finally receded, she found his spot empty.
It's like I have to bury him again.
It's yet another devastating example of the destruction of floodwaters. Parish officials say it's important that each disturbed gravesite is immediately reported so the proper agencies can work to protect any caskets and return them to their final resting place.
You want to do that for the family members as quickly as possible. You're already going through a tremendous devastation of storm and all these other things, and then for that to happen, that's just, as you know, Elizabeth, very, very personal. And so we try to take care of that as fast as possible.
Cemeteries fall under the jurisdiction of the Attorney General's office, so loved ones can contact them about any disinterred graves. In the meantime, officials are asking if you come across a casket that has been moved from a grave, please cover it with a tarp for protection. Elizabeth Vowell, WAFB 9 News.
This is literally like 5 minutes later.
Hey man, his blinkers are on, man. You might want to get in there and cut them off.
Good evening, I'm Keith Cate.
I'm Jennifer Lee. Thank you for joining us. A massive sinkhole on top of a mosaic gypsum stack near Mulberry allowed millions of gallons of contaminated water to flow into the Floridan aquifer. Eagle 8 flew over the huge chasm in the earth and spotted a cascading waterfall. Look at this, into the middle of what looks like a moonscape. Peter Bernard is live for us right now in Polk County, and this thing is gigantic.
Isn't that amazing video? This is a monster sinkhole out here. This is at the plant here called the New Wales plant off County Road 640. We're just south of Mulberry. The sinkhole actually was discovered almost 3 weeks ago. Since then, about 215 million gallons of contaminated water have drained into the aquifer. About 40 feet across and who knows how deep, this sinkhole at the Mosaic plant is in a really bad spot. It sits right in the middle of a massive gypsum stack. That's the stuff that comes out of the plant after the company produces phosphate fertilizers and animal feed ingredients. Workers monitoring water levels discovered a drop.
When it was first noticed, we installed pumping systems to move water out of that compartment on the gypsum stack to recover the water.
The water is contaminated with phosphoric acid and is slightly radioactive, and not all of it is being caught by the pumps. You wouldn't want to drink this stuff, but so far, Mosaic engineers don't believe the water is making it to private wells. Near the gypsum stack, Mosaic has monitoring wells, and further out, there are more.
We're confident that the wells we've been started up are capturing that water and pulling it back.
Jellerson tells us the closest homeowners, who are all several miles away, can still use their water without worry. But if they have concerns, Mosaic will test it. So far, the company maintains all is okay.
We continue to monitor the stack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to ensure that there's no safety or environmental concerns on top of the gypsum stack itself, as well as around the rest of the property.
It took a week for a Mosaic worker to figure out where all that water was going. The next step out here is to repair the hole in the gypsum stack and make sure, darn sure, that the water that is getting into the aquifer isn't getting into wells where people are likely to drink it. Jen?
A pretty scary situation. I know regulators typically get involved in a situation like this. Is the Florida Department of Environmental Protection looking into this at all at this point?
They're actually out here, and they've been here since day one. That was back on August 27th. So they're here, and also the feds are involved. The EPA is aware of what's going on and are monitoring as well.
It's an issue of separation between church and state. O'Donnell High School has a painting of the 10 Commandments as well as a Bible verse in their newly built common area of the school.
But when students came to school this morning, both paintings were covered up after an anonymous complaint. KCBD News Channel 11's Presley Fowler joins us now to explain. Presley?
Well, Christine Abner, I spoke with O'Donnell ISD Superintendent Dr. Kathy Amonette. She says she received a letter from a group called the Freedom from Religion Foundation saying someone complained about the 10 Commandments and scripture being painted on the school walls. This led to her covering up the paintings to avoid a lawsuit until a better solution is reached. But now this issue has created a movement throughout the entire school.
Be on your guard, stand firm in your faith, be courageous, be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13, which meaning that we all just need to stand firm, you know. The whole school came together today.
O'Donnell High School junior Katie Grubin explains what she posted on Facebook following the 10 Commandments at her school being covered up. Just one of hundreds of posts from students sharing their reaction, which sparked a community-wide conversation.
It's one of the big things that O'Donnell's known for is for keeping their faith strong no matter what. And so we just decided that we were going to make it known that we wanted this as a big deal.
After receiving the letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, Superintendent Dr. Kathy Amonette covered the paintings this morning first with black paper until some students tore that down. Now the painting of the 10 Commandments is covered with an American flag.
I made the decision to cover it up until I make a more informed decision about what I should do, because I don't want to harm the district or cause any controversy or anything.
Junior Abby Franklin says the students appreciate the way Dr. Amonette has been transparent about this situation as she hosted a school assembly today after lunch.
She's been very calm and very loving towards all of us. The first thing she said is, I know you're all frustrated. I'm just as frustrated as you are.
But the students took that frustration and turned it into a movement.
Because of this, students have put verses on sticky notes and just around the hallways and stuff. So 2 verses and commandments they've been complaining about turned into 70 more verses.
I'm proud of my kids. I think that they have shown the kind of people that they are. They believe in the 10 Commandments and they want to stand up for it. And I'm proud of them for that.
Now it is a waiting game as they still don't know who initially complained.
I'm going to do some more investigation and get with the school leadership and then and the community and the students, and we will decide what we need to do to protect the school while also honoring them.
But Abby says she is not alone in hoping a solution will be reached soon.
This is something we believe in, and this is something we can't just ignore. Don't take away our faith. It's all we have. It's all we can live on anymore.
The Ten Commandments will remain covered up for the time being. We did reach out to the Freedom from Religion Foundation to find out more about the letter and have not heard back.
For me, that this is not a free speech area.
Again, we have designated areas. I'll take it that you were recording.
Yes, I am.
We have designated areas on campus. With him not being a student or faculty or staff, then he has to go through the proper procedures regarding the reservation.
So you told me that this was not a free speech area. Can you clarify what that means?
This is not a designated free speech area. So if you, more than welcome to take a look at the facility use policy.
And by that you mean that there are free speech areas on campus and that the entire campus is not a free speech area?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much. And could you state your name for me and your position?
My name again is Sean Jones. I'm the Assistant Director of Compliance Services.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you have intelligence?
Well, I seem to be keeping your interest. How many animals?
In 5 years, a large company will be actually selling these robots as appliances. What is the meaning of life?
Life and what we can do with it. Like singing, dancing, loving, gives life meaning.
Appearance, facial expression is very important, language, verbal interaction, and then body language.
Goodbye.
This is Ashley Beckford reporting for Infowars.com. New ID badge records employee conversations. It sounds hard to believe, but this is an article up on Infowars.com by Clifford Cunningham, and it's yet another Orwellian 1984-style takeover of our private lives. Ben Weber, one of the creators, he's saying that within 3 or 4 years, every single ID badge is going to have these sensors. He's part of a people analytics firm based in Boston called Humanize, and he and 3 other scientists over at MIT ended up coming up with this technology called people analytics as part of their doctoral thesis. And I think it's actually insane. Basically, you're getting to the point where you can no longer even have a private moment in the bathroom. They're saying that they're not actually going to track people's actions in the bathroom or be listening to them or recording when they go to the bathroom. But it's hard to believe when they actually got this idea from a professor called Andrew Lowe, who actually rigged a conference room in order to track 57 stock and bond traders to see, using wristwatch sensors, if they were going to freak out, basically is what he said. He was tracking pulse and perspiration in this experiment, which gave them the idea to go ahead and put this on a bigger scale, to the point where JP Morgan Chase as well as Bank of America want to start actually monitoring their financial traders. Bloomberg Technology even called it a finance version of George Orwell's 1984, because they're saying that they're going to use this. The bankers are saying they want to boost performance and compliance. So in my opinion, this is basically the beginning of tracking our everyday movements in every way. This is not a good development. This is not something that we want to see going on in every single company, because we know as it goes top down, you know, from the finance companies down to the regular, you know, different industries, we don't want to see this happening in every workplace. I know you don't want your coworkers, your boss, your IT guy knowing every single thing you do in the bathroom.
We're talking about super lice, the kind that's much more resistant to treatment. Research shows an outbreak in 25 states so far, and since lice love to find their way into children's hair, parents and school administrators are scrambling to get control of the problem. Joining me is our medical correspondent, Dr. Sujatha Reddy. So is super lice a matter of just hygiene or bad luck?
Well, it's really just bad luck. Gone are the days where we think lice are with dirty people or people that don't wash their hair. It really is bad luck. A little bit about lice. They're about the size of a sesame seed, so you could see how it's easy to miss them.
Right.
And also, not everyone scratches, even though the minute you say lice, everyone starts to itch. Only people that have a reaction to the lice saliva will actually scratch their head.
It gives you the willies, right? So how long can super lice live off the head?
Well, any louse or lice is going to live, once it falls off the head, let's say it falls off into the carpet, will only live 1 or 2 days, because it's got to have human blood to survive. Super lice means that the over-the-counter treatments don't work as well as they used to, and you probably need a prescription. So even though super lice sounds like it's indestructible, we still have treatments that will work.
So if you have lice in your head or on your head, is it fair to assume that you have lice around your home, and how do you get rid of it?
That's a great question. So part of treating lice is not only treating the person, but treating their belongings. So anything that they've slept in, used on their hair, pillowcases, sheets, hairbrushes for the last couple of days before the infection, you want to wash in hot water. A lice and the egg, which is called a nit, will die at a temperature of about 130. So washing in hot water in your laundry machine, drying at the high setting, will kill lice on sheets and pillowcases. So you can manage your home doing that. They're easy to kill, luckily.
Yeah, okay, but you got to go through the work. How do you avoid it, though, from the beginning?
The best thing with children, and that's the bulk of who gets this, and the CDC says there's probably about 12 million cases a year, is to encourage children not to share brushes and combs and hair accessories and hats with friends at school.
Yeah.
Don't, sleep on the same pillow as, your friend if you go to their house for a play date. Things like that is the best way to avoid it, but it really is just bad luck. It is not a hygiene thing.
All right. Always good to talk to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chemtrails, the bane of every atmospheric scientist's existence. Conspiracy theorists, they point to contrails, which are condensation trails made by airplanes, as proof that the government is controlling the minds and the food of the people, and scientists are fed up. So they decided it was time to publish some actual peer-reviewed research to refute the conspiracy theory, with a specific goal, get this, of it coming up in Google searches. Now, 76 of the 77 atmospheric chemists involved in this study agreed that there is not, nor there ever has been, evidence of chemtrails.
Scientists are now saying bringing the woolly mammoth back from the dead is only a matter of time, and not just the mammoth, but other extinct species as well. The concept of animal de-extinction has long been in the works, and the International Union for Conservation of Nature has even issued its first guidelines in extinct species resurrection. The important issue facing scientists is how to return these extinct species to their natural habitat. The grassland ecosystem that the mammoth once thrived in is much different today than when it was alive. However, scientists believe its habitat can be recreated. Scientists have proposed only resurrecting species that have recently gone extinct and would therefore be able to fit back into their ecosystem more seamlessly. As the conversation carries on, scientists believe that the extinction of certain animals could greatly benefit ecological communities and ecosystems.
About a year ago, a report from a scientist at Penn State had us looking at a star. The reason was because its light was being dimmed in an odd way, and there was some thought that it could be because of an alien megastructure surrounding it. So of course all the King's telescopes and all the King's astronomers checked on it to see what it was. The megastructure was ruled out for other theories, like the dimming was caused by a series of comets or bits from a planetary collision. Until now, where it's being reported that the dimming of the star is continuing, and none of those theories are really quite locked on, so the suggestion is that it could be an alien megastructure that's in the process of being built. About the dimming, which has been really fast, a researcher is quoted as saying, "We spent a long time trying to convince ourselves this wasn't real, we just weren't able to." The star is nicknamed Tabby's star and is about 1,500 light years from us, meaning if there's an alien megastructure, it's probably built and up and running by now.
Texans say a storm last night killed 19 cows.
Witnesses say lightning hit a tree just north of Hallsville during the storm, killing the cows that were standing underneath it. KLTV7's Kim Luffler spoke with residents who saw the whole thing happen. Again, we warn you, some of what you're about to see may be hard for you to watch.
It was a tragic ending for these cows trying to get relief from a storm. Victor Benson saw it happen.
All of a sudden, a lightning bolt came down and the cows just fell in the blink of an eye, just a lightning bolt. And there was lightning everywhere, but just one, and it was over.
Benson says lightning hit a tree before striking the cows. 19 were killed as a result of that strike, about a third of the herd in this pasture. You can still see a mark on the tree where the lightning hit it.
So we kept thinking, well, they'll get up. Some of them were getting up and stumbling away, and I called the owner, and he goes, "Nah, that's not normal." So
they were owned by the Andersons, who have hundreds of cows in the area.
It's not something you see every day, so just kind of surreal to see it.
Anderson's husband has been working with cows his entire life. She says he has never had anything like this happen.
Not any of his, and especially not to this magnitude.
The Andersons say while this is a significant loss, they don't plan to do anything differently with their cows.
It's just a freak thing. I mean, they were just staying out of the rain, so there's really, to my knowledge, nothing that you could do to prevent this.
A sign of the power of nature that many in this community won't soon forget. In Harrison County, Kim Luffler, KLTV 7 News.
It has happened again. More dead fish turning up in Monmouth County. This time, thousands have appeared in the water off Atlantic Highlands. News 12 New Jersey's Chris Keating tells us more about this fishy nightmare, Chris.
Rick, before we could see these thousands of dead fish bunched up against boats and docks at the Atlantic Highlands Marina, we could certainly smell them. It is a disturbing sight to some, but the DEP says, don't worry, this is actually a common occurrence. peanut bunker is what they are, popular bait fish and a major food source for striped bass and dolphin out there in the ocean. There are thousands floating on the surface of the water, some bunched up against docks, some surrounding sailboats.
I was a little frightened. I did not know what happened. I didn't know if it was an environmental issue or something else.
Fearing there's something toxic in the water is a reasonable concern. It nearly had these two sisters calling the EPA. But the DEP has said their death is due to a lack of oxygen, common in the warmer months, and that they were likely being chased by predators before they died.
Makes me feel a little better. We were just wondering why they would be sitting there and why somebody didn't come, either the state or the restaurant, to take them out of the water.
It's very possible these are some of the same fish that washed up first in Keensburg and then Keyport this past week and simply moved here with the tide. But it's still a unique sight. Lifelong residents here in Atlantic Highlands haven't ever seen.
I guess it's a shame, you know, but I guess in nature that's what happens.
Now in Keensburg, the fish were pulled off the beach, but we haven't heard of any plans to pull these out of the water in Atlantic Highlands. Rather, they will likely go out with the tide. Chris Keating, News 12, New Jersey.
We have new information about the mother accused of killing her daughter in Oklahoma City.
An affidavit states Juanita Gomez said her daughter Geneva was possessed by the devil, which led to the deadly fight. Fox 25's Jasmine Anderson is here with today's top story. Jasmine.
Mike and Wendy, when Juanita Gomez was interviewed by police, she had bruises on her arms. Juanita told police the bruises were from her daughter, fighting her attempts to rid Satan from her daughter's body. A simple welfare check turns deadly near Northwest 15th and McKinley.
She had severe trauma to her body, consistent with being a victim of homicide.
Oklahoma City police found 33-year-old Geneva Gomez on the ground inside a home with a crucifix on her chest.
It appears that the woman was there with her mother when her mother, for whatever reason, attacked her.
Her mother, Juanita Gomez, told police her daughter was possessed by the devil. The 50-year-old said she punched her daughter repeatedly and forced a crucifix and religious medallion down her throat until blood came out of her daughter's mouth.
The altercation went on for a short period of time before the daughter finally succumbed to the attack and died.
The affidavit obtained by Fox 25 states Juanita saw her daughter die and then placed her body in the shape of a cross. She then attempted to clean her daughter and other items in the home. Juanita Gomez was arrested at the scene. She's at the Oklahoma County Jail on a complaint of murder in the first degree. Jasmine Anderson, Fox 25.